Garrett's evidently, based upon where his pen's sitting, has been writing more in his journal than I have. But mine was less of like a daily journal and more of like I wanted to give my brain the freedom to have a thought
That's what I
at
use
any
mine for.
time, and I'll write it down and revisit it later.
I got a.
Do you have a daily journal?
I do,
Oh,
but I got
shoot.
something fun.
Something fun.
A voice recorder.
Rad. Very
just
rad.
pull it out.
Yes.
Make it.
Yes.
I wear my voice memo app out on my phone.
I do too.
but I don't love it. I think I might like the dedicated functionality
Yeah, the voice
of that
recorder's
right
cool.
there.
That's
Yeah,
rad.
record your kids. It's the cutest thing.
That's very cool.
Like, so I've been recording their voices at night and just random stuff. So like, I'm like, tell me your favorite joke or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
Hey, speaking of
So-
jokes,
I bet you got one.
speaking of jokes, I got to hit you with this dad joke. All right. You really got to hand it to short people
As I sip my dew.
because they can't reach it.
That's mean.
I'm a short people. Like, I can say that. I'm short people. Ain't nobody ever in my life accused me of being tall.
There's a YouTube series where
Hmm.
you tell the dad jokes and whoever laughs first.
I love those.
I love those.
You
Yes.
laugh, you're out.
It's hilarious.
I
You
think
laugh,
the
you're
first version of that I saw was with famous people like Mark Wahlberg
Yep.
and Will Ferrell.
Well, and then your other celebrity duo is The Rock and Kevin Hart.
Oh, do they do that series?
Oh yeah, all the time.
First one to laugh
Yeah,
loses. Yeah.
And then they'll act like each other, and so whoever laughs first then loses too. One quick point about my thoughts and doodles as to why I'm probably further in than you. I refuse to flip over and write across the back
Okay.
because the middle spline it bugs me. So my method is I'm going to write all the way through it.
Yep.
Flip it over and then write all the way through it again.
So it'd be upside down. It'd be inverted.
Yep.
Once you
And
get to the
whenever
end
I'm
of that.
dead and gone and somebody finds my journal, they're going to think, "Wow,
Did he
this
write
guy was
upside
dumb."
down? No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I do
really
not
does.
enjoy writing on the backside of it because
just
of
not
this, like,
comfortable.
but I am. I'm currently being efficient with my papel, my paper.
I just throw things in
Pale.
there.
But I think that's
Your
Spanish.
papaya.
I think that's Spanish for paper. It
Yeah.
may not be.
Yeah, it comes from papaya, which is I think some of the original
Interesting. I thought
material.
papaya was a fruit.
Well, so the leaves of it, the Egyptians, I believe, wrote on.
Ah,
Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. Probably am, but I'm pretty sure the Egyptians wrote.
I got my guess as to who's
Such
going
a
to tell us
random
right now.
fact. I don't.
I'm full of them. He's got dad jokes. I've got
like, who's
random
gonna
knowledge.
tell you you're wrong?
I bet you, our avid listener, and Tony Greer will be swift to correct you
Yeah,
on
Tony,
that.
if you're out there, tell me if I'm wrong.
So we've got a cool guest. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited about this. We've done some work. I'm wearing a hat.
I would say you belong here this morning, Captain.
I don't know.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
Jury's out on it.
Jury is very much still out. We'll bring our guest on here in just a minute, but first let's thank this week's sponsor.
Today's sponsor of Faith in Frames, none other than Animals West of Greenville, Tennessee.
Yep.
Longtime sponsor, I guess as long as we've been in production, all 5 months of it.
That's still fact.
At Animals West, your pets are our passion. Our dedicated team offers personalized care, advanced treatments, and a warm, loving environment. Because at Animals West, every tale tells a story. Tony, Amanda, and the crew down on the Newport Highway, thank you for sponsoring Faith in Frames. Thank you for sponsoring me and Jared here at Motion Creative Media.
Taking care of these animals.
Taking care of these animals. We are wet, soppy, muddy, stinky.
Oof.
But we do appreciate.
I showered this morning.
I shower too, but
Hopefully I'm
end
not
of the day,
stinky yet.
I think we're good.
It's funny because you just it's funny because our guest and I were talking off camera beforehand about podcasts and post production and editing and stuff, and she mentioned that she had been on a few, and one of them or a couple of them sometimes will leave some of the blunders in there even after making a verbal like, "Hey, we've got to cut this." I said, "Oh,
I've never heard any of those.
Do I have a story for you?"
I've got to listen to those.
So you may or may not have heard one on this episode. We'll see. Time will tell. Because you have an opportunity
We'll see.
to either leave it or keep it.
We'll
or
see.
Leave it or cut it. But anyway,
If you only knew
If you only knew. We've got
the brain that
a
you're working
guest.
with.
Works with, we came to know her through Belong, Tennessee Kids Belong.
Yes, a wonderful organization.
We did some video work with them for a project that was,
With our friend Jordy, who recently had an episode.
yes. It's a great organization. That's how I learned about it. And we just think that the world needs to know about it.
Yes.
But we have Miss Aisha.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Again.
Good morning again. So, Tennessee Kids Belong. It's in the foster space.
Yes, we are in the foster space, and we're really just focused on just changing the experience and outcome of the children in care.
Yeah.
And we walk alongside like the foster families
Yeah.
that are in care.
Right.
And, you know, how we got a chance to work with you guys is creating that space to for children that are looking for forever homes to have
Yeah.
a voice.
Yeah.
So
The thing that kept hitting me in the face the day that we worked with you guys down there in Morristown was the kids didn't choose this.
Yeah.
They didn't choose to be in the situation that they're in, you know, and so we've talked a number of times. You've actually sat with our pastor. We've talked, and we're excited about hopefully the future and working together. But what do you think are some of the big challenges facing, you know, just the foster industry in general and that whole system? You know, again, we've talked about it a blue million times off camera. You can hear the words, you know, the system's broken. Like
Yeah.
we'll hear that. Normal people will say, "Oh, well, the system's broken," or "It's bad," it doesn't work," and all these things. But other than just attempting to fix a system, you know, what are some of the challenges that you see with foster care? I know because I've talked to you. You guys help with supporting the families. You give them resources and stuff like that. What all is a challenge?
Well, one thing I do want to say is that, like, we also hear the system is broken, but anything that involves broken people is going to just be broken.
We're human
And
at the end of the day.
There you go.
Yeah, and so that's just what it is. And so working in this space with Tennessee Kids Belong, we work to support the people, but also, like, we want them to be seen. We want the kids. A lot of those kids that came in that day for that video shoot, you will never know their backstories, but you can see by looking in some of their eyes, there's brokenness.
Oh, yes.
And so you guys show up in that space to not just to do the videos and to take the pictures, but really speak to some of that brokenness, whether it's playing a video game or cracking a joke or whatever that might be, sharing a smile. And so we never know. And so I say all that to say that, like, when we look at a system like the foster care system, I think that in the same space that we talk about the brokenness, we got to try to figure out where we can show up in that brokenness.
Oh, yeah.
To do whatever we can. And so, like, meeting with your pastor and all of these people, it's not about identifying all the things, but just trying to figure out what in the Tri-Cities, what is going on here, and what resources do I have in my power to be helpful. And that's what we do. Like, we sit and have coffee, we have lunch. We have people that are operating already in the community, serving people.
You have the event for the kids.
Yes. And even that event in Morristown, the people that were involved in that, like the food that was served. That guy, he does that on the side, you know, and I was like, we need lunch because it's going to be a long day. It's like, all right, I'm going to pull out the grill, I'm
going to cater this event.
Yes, and this, we still talk about that today. Like, we usually have food delivered from, but not that day. We had food on the grill, you know.
And I think that makes an impact too. I mean, even for the kids that are involved, they're like, there are people, and they may not be used to this, but there are people showing up. And that's something that I think the foster care system, at least from and I've never been in the system as a child, but I can only imagine that's probably one of their biggest fears is anyone actually going to show up for me?
Yes. Yeah. And that, you said that so well. When we think about the foster care system, as long as I used to think about the foster care system in a way that it's the kids and the parents.
Uh-huh.
But what I would like to create within people is to think about, to put themselves
Yeah.
within the foster care system.
Yep.
Not saying you have to be a foster parent, but like,
Right.
I think you guys now are a part of the foster care system because of the work that you guys have. You showed up, you took videos, you know, you are the foster care system.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your pastor, he is the foster care system, you know. And when we think about that, like, and it kind of waters down like all the bad stuff we think about because we're like, well, we're just trying to come in and help. It's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Right.
this is foster care.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. We're just trying to show up for these kids.
What's important to know there is like help can be a lot of different things.
Yes.
Okay, you just mentioned, and I wouldn't have necessarily considered it, but you said you guys are part of the foster care system. You know, I look at it as like all we did that day was
Try to shine light on it.
took photos and videos of these kids, you know. It's just like you mentioned the caterer, right? So it's like there are so many ways that you can help that doesn't even necessarily mean like actually fostering a kid. There's tons of needs,
Right.
tons of ways that you can get involved and tons of ways that you can help. And I'll go ahead and apologize. I don't know how the rest of your photo and video crew typically operate. We may have like went too far with it.
No.
Maybe we were supposed to just be the dudes with the cameras and just, you know, flies on the walls, but like I could not do that.
Yeah,
after
that
hearing
day
those
was-
kids talk.
That day wrecked me a little bit. So a little background about Jared and myself. Jared's a little more emotional at times than I am.
Oh, yeah, I'm
He'll
a crier.
He'll describe himself as a crier. I don't typically get emotional about a lot of things. But that day absolutely wrecked me. And I've said that to other folks because there were some stories, and I want to get into one in particular here in a little bit, but there were some stories where they hit me like a ton of bricks. That day was heavy. You know, from our perspective, and I know you guys working with it every single day. I cannot imagine the load that you guys bear.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the weight that one day had, just from the video guys' perspective.
Yeah, and then you guys again do it day in and day out, and just to continually show up and be that beacon, be that person who's attempting to make change and driving that.
Yeah.
That's
Well, you're helping
kudos to
shed
you
light on it.
guys.
I do want to back up just for a second, Aisha, just to get a little more perspective on the character Aisha.
Yeah.
Because you practice what you preach. We talked about that off camera. Not only are you working as a member for Tennessee Kids Belong, but you are actively in the fostering space. So I want to know, number one, why?
Yeah, how'd you get there?
What is the character Aisha's mission within the system, even outside of Tennessee Kids Belong, because I think you play an important role in that. But just so that we know the character more, what got you into it, and what is your burden for it? Where do you feel like your place is?
The first time I was introduced to the child welfare system was when I was working in Knoxville at Chick-fil-A. And I
shout out Chick-fil-A.
The Lord's chicken.
Yes. Well, I didn't know what was going on, but once a week, this girl would come in, and then this lady with 2 kids would come in, and then a guy would come in. And then every time the girl, every time she made it to the register, she was in tears. And so I would always ask her if I could give her a hug.
Yes.
And so I would give her a hug, and that happened for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Right.
I don't know why God blessed me with the living space that I had at the time, but I had 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And
And it was just you?
it was just me. And it was, I was working at Chick-fil-A, so the rent was affordable. And one day, I don't even know how we led to this conversation, but she informed me that I eventually found out she was having visitation with her kids.
Okay.
So the other lady was a caseworker,
Right.
and the guy was the father. And she let me know that one of the things they were asking her to do was she couldn't be in the same household with the father because she didn't have anywhere to go.
Right.
And so
Okay.
I got this idea to get her to come stay with me. And I told her that you could stay with me, but I'm not going to give you a key to the house. And when I leave, like, if you could leave too.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of the things that the courts were asking her to do was to look for employment. So she used that time to look for employment.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. You know, things happen. Like, she stole money from me one time, but I remember not even... I had got to know her so well, and I just think that now in hindsight, she was operating out of survival.
Oh, yeah.
Fight or flight.
Yeah. And so I don't even think, I think that she was still trying to figure out how to trust me.
Yep.
The more I got to know her story, like, she experienced things even though she was a mother, she needed. She was still stuck at a child's age, you know, because of stuff. But anyways, one day she came back to the apartment and her hair was chopped off. And I was like, what happened? And she said that they had court. And she said the parents wouldn't even look at her, the people that were, they were hoping to adopt the kids. And she was tore up because... She said they wouldn't even look at me. It's like I wasn't even there.
Right.
And like I was upset.
Oh, yes.
I was just like having all these feelings. And then I remember one time she said after court, she had followed them. I was really upset with her. And I was like, girl, you're going to get in trouble. You can't do that. But in hindsight, again, I realized.
Fight or flight.
Yes, and I later found out that the parents, which went on to adopt the girls, I think there was a boy too, but and now they have a great relationship. They're Facebook friends. She sends them Christmas cards, holiday cards, all kind of stuff. But in the moment, that foster family could not have kids, and they had got attached to the kids, and so like looking back, I see they were both operating in fear in the same situation, but they didn't even have the capacity to see each other in that situation. So I tell people that story because my passion for foster care started with the biological families.
Okay.
And so seeing her journey, I think it was helpful for me because there's biases about biological families.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And so I still... the kids are very much to where they should be. Like she just has struggles, but like I have so much love for her, you know. And she never got the help that she needed to just heal. But I did not realize how much that would set the foundation for my foster care journey. And eventually, I was offered a job in foster care to recruit foster parents, and that's how I started. And so having that experience was great in recruiting foster families because I felt like
you had a unique perspective there.
Yes, and
you were fostering people before, like you were actually fostering, like that's you're fostering her, and props to you, kudos to you, because that takes. Number one, that takes a lot of given trust because at that point in time, I mean, she had not even earned the trust to be in your house. You openly let her in. And then you even said, even after stealing from you, like, no, I understand why. It doesn't make you love me any less. Like, that is a beautiful, beautiful example of just, I think, that the character trait that you have for fostering. That's amazing.
Something Christ embodies.
I didn't even know what was going on. I was just trying to be nice and but it literally, I mean, I've been in foster care for 12 years at this point, and it's like that's the story, that's my why. And of course, being around the kids for so long, it was inevitable that I was going to become a foster parent one day. Like it wasn't if, it was just when.
That's awesome.
I love it.
From being in that space with recruiting foster families, one of the things, like, I can remember during COVID, people were like, I think they were thinking the foster, like the world we were in was going to struggle, but it wasn't. It was like, everybody was stuck at home and they had all this time. And so they're going to do the one thing that they now have time to do, which is become a foster parent.
Okay.
But,
so you saw a spike in parents coming?
Yeah, it was like a lot of parents.
Through COVID.
Yes, because everything was virtual.
That's fair. I hadn't thought about that.
But the problem is that it was an isolating period already, right? We're stuck in our home. And being a foster parent is already isolating.
Oh yeah.
And so to have like an isolating way of life into this new culture that we didn't know if it was going to be short term or long
Right,
term.
Yeah.
What you saw is that a year and a half later, like parents were closing their home. And so like at that point, I'm just like, we had the capacity to recruit foster families, but we
You
did
didn't
not
have
have the capacity
locations
To support them.
to
Yeah.
to also
equip them to-
yes,
to
because
do-
they need it. I'm like, they need support. They
Yep.
need community support.
Yep.
They need a team of people.
You mentioned that when we were talking with our Pastor John, some of the training and the resources that you guys offer, and it's things that I had never even thought about, like in regards to trauma training and
Yes.
and you know, you mentioned specifically, and you probably didn't even realize it, but you asked the person if you could give them a hug.
Yeah.
A lot of people, especially in the South, would
Will
just
just hug
give
you.
you a hug.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
we'll just hug
they
you.
don't realize that may be
triggering.
a trigger for some kid or something who's got you know what I'm saying. So like all these things that I had no clue. Now I'm privy to that information, and it's like, no, that you guys do so much more than, again, finding homes and opening homes and getting homes to open and things. But it's like, okay, that's great, but we've got to help them succeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the journey's great.
Well, and we don't understand the trauma that a lot of kids have been through, and if you don't prepare families for that, and I think a lot of people that go into foster care, at least, again, I have a brother who is a foster parent. We have friends at church that have just entered the system as well. We all know in the back of our mind, like, yeah, there's going to be some troubling situations, but I don't think a lot of people understand how to work through those
Yeah.
troubling situations.
Just things to avoid and,
Yeah.
and ways to react to situations and stuff like that. That's something that I didn't know that you guys did.
Yeah, and so you guys take it the extra mile, which again, I applaud you for that, because you truly are setting these kids and the family as a family unit. You're setting them up for success long term.
Yes. So within the faith community, we work with alongside the Department of Children's Services and private providers for recruitment. So we do that by doing panels and all this stuff. But so with creating community for the families that take in these children within the faith community, yes, we want you to be trauma trained, because it's the faith communities, the foundation is to serve.
Yes.
And so we just want them to serve well.
Yes.
And we really encourage the faith community to be trauma aware and trauma informed. And what I have found is that it's helpful not just for the foster community.
yeah.
Like,
Well, it's helpful for people in general.
I'm intrigued because, you're probably going to learn how to pick up on those things.
Yeah.
And you can, at that point, you can identify.
Yeah.
And then now you know how to
Yeah.
interact with that person moving forward. you
Well,
know?
I think having that training goes deeper too, because, and we'll just talk on the faith community specifically. A lot of the times, whenever we believers as a whole see a problem, we're like, oh, just give it to Jesus, lay it down, and pray through it. And it's like, yes, you have to do those things, but there are also some practical things that we have to do as well, in order, again, to set those family units up for success.
Exactly.
You can't give a family a child who has had a horrible situation and say, pray through it with this child. Like, you've got to pray through it with the child, but we also need to be equipped with some practical things in order to make this relationship work.
Exactly. Yep.
And I think, again, that's a step that you guys take that I admire. You give some practical implication.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about. I know. John and I both left that meeting on cloud nine and really energized and excited about a future of helping in some facet with you and Tennessee Kids Belong. And I know John, like, we have CR at church, right? Celebrate Recovery. And so John specifically was like really excited about the trauma training because I think trauma can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people.
It can.
And so those things are great resources. Now, specifically, we met on a, I forget exactly what y'all call it, but it's essentially the kids' day where.
Yes, Belong Sunday.
Okay, is that what we did?
Oh, no.
No, the event that we
I
did.
Belong Project.
There we go.
That is
Okay,
what
Belong
it-
Project.
so
yes.
Belong Project. Yeah, I specifically took photos of the kids. Garrett and Jordy handled the video side of things, and we'll not give any specific details of any of the cases, but like once those videos got live
Yeah.
and I saw the finished products and heard the kids' stories from their perspective, because Garrett and I weren't in the interviews.
Right.
We were just interacting with them on the day
Yeah.
and interacting with the task.
We got to do the fun part.
We did, and that plays into Garrett and I's personality so much. Like
Yeah.
we're cut ups, and we just love to be with people
Yeah.
and chat people up and whatnot.
Jordy was in there doing the interviews.
I don't know how he did it after hearing some of those videos.
Well, so we got to hear some of the the post interview commentation, and again going back to some of the cases, and then being able to see the final product. That is where that day was very heavy, because I know on our side of things from the content creation, we were highlighting the happy moments of that day, but I can only imagine.
Yeah.
And again, not mentioning any names, but I remember a specific case that came through that day that was probably one of the heaviest stories that I'd heard in a long time. This kid had been in the system for 10 plus years, and essentially, I guess, was about to age out.
Yeah.
And I would assume that is probably not his first project like that.
Maybe, yes. It's common to have multiple.
He's probably had more than one occasion of doing that very thing. And the thought that kept running through my brain whenever I learned that backstory was, I wonder if that kid thinks to himself, when I come to these events, like,
Is he numb?
yeah, is he numb to it? Like, is this even worth it? Or is this just going to be another day where, I got burgers and I get to play basketball and get some supplies and things, and then I've got to go right back. That is where the weight of it finally hit me, because I was like, dang, no, it is important that we're showing up for that kid.
Yeah.
It is, and all of them, but like that story specifically was the one that hit me like a ton of bricks, because I can only imagine, and I'll never be able to fully understand what he felt that day.
Exactly. And I feel like you made a good point too about, like, we saw the fun, because I was out there with you guys.
We got to do the fun part.
We did, and just minutes later, Jordy had to. And so when I think about stuff like that, I'm like, kids are masters at wearing masks.
Oh,
Yes.
And some of the masks that they have to wear to show up in these spaces is really challenging to just kind of sit with it.
Yeah.
And to think, like, while we were out there just blowing bubbles and
Yeah,
playing
we're blowing
video
bubbles,
games.
playing basketball.
And as soon as it was time for them to just go have a chat,
Yep.
Yeah.
like, these burdens start coming
Oh,
out,
yes.
and like their hopes and desires, or also their disappointments also come out,
Yeah.
know, and it's the most basic things, just like the things that we often take for granted as we're building our own families,
One of the questions that they asked that day, and all the kids got to give their unique answer, and it was really cool to see their perspective. And it's like, well, what describe to me a perfect day?
Yeah.
What's a perfect day look like? And it was the simplest of things. And it's like, oh man, I'd have never even thought that that's what a kid would think would be perfection. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, we make this thing so much harder than it's got to be. And
Well, and again, on the heavy side of that, as they're answering that question, are they thinking to themselves, is this day ever actually going to happen?
yeah, I
You
may
know?
never have this day.
And that's where I have a big burden for what you guys do is, again, going back to the case that I brought up. He's been through this for 10 plus years. At what point in time does he finally just say, no, nobody's going to show up? And then hopefully that one day somebody does. Like, those are the things that I think about on the deeper scale. But just for some context, folks, for the things that we're talking about here. So this day specifically, the I Belong Project, Tennessee kids, they bring these kids into a facility. They're given supplies. They get to have a fun day. They get to do the things that they enjoy, like play video games, color, build Legos, board games. They get to interact with humans, other humans that are showing up for them, and you guys do it in a great and mighty way. I have a burden for it because I have seen you guys make those kids feel like rock stars, and I want you guys to have whatever billboard you need to continue to make kids feel like rock stars, because that is awesome. And for anyone who wants information on Tennessee Kids Belong, we'll give some information at the end of the show. But I think it's an amazing thing that you guys do for those kids.
Yeah, those video days.
And that video is really just like almost, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't mean to cut you off, but correct me if I'm wrong, that is essentially what I would call a plea for adoption.
Exactly.
At the end of the
day. We started doing that. We've been around since 2016, and the I Belong Project is at the heart of what we do.
Yes.
And it is really to highlight the personalities, the desires, and the wants of those children, and it really gives them an opportunity to own their own story and to have a voice in their story. But it's really all about them. But our goal is to increase and quicker adoptions for these kiddos that are often overlooked. So
you deal with some hard placement cases.
Yeah, and we mostly had teenagers.
Yes.
That day it was,
which are the hardest placement cases.
Yeah, and those kids were lovely. Like,
oh my gosh.
A lot of those kids, we probably would have put in our own car and just like, yeah, you're coming with me, you know. And so they know that they are misunderstood.
Yes.
They know that they are judged. They know that they are labeled hard to place.
Kids are not dumb.
A girl that she does what I do in Memphis, she shared a text message with us. There was a kid that showed up to one of their video I Belong Project days, and he has a mentor that she is connected with, and this day he was out with the mentor, and he texted her from his phone, and his question was, "Are you still showing my video?"
Yeah.
And when she sent it, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like,
So they see the
it was
importance of it.
motivation, and I was like, I knew some of them have to have cared, but like you just think maybe some of them don't want to be there. But when he sent that text to her, I was like, no, some of these kids, they want to be there.
So he was asking if his video was still out there being shown.
He was asking if we were still sharing his video, and so.
And I think that speaks even more to what you guys do, because in the back of his mind, then he still knows there's a chance.
Yeah, this video can help me. It can help me. It can help my case.
Well, and you made a very good point, Captain. It gives them the opportunity to basically take their name off of a data sheet. Because in a lot of systems, we look at, name, age, height, weight, sex, race, whatever.
We dehumanize
it on a spreadsheet, and maybe it has a photo beside it, but that gives them the opportunity to jump off of the data sheet, and we can hear their perspective.
Yeah.
And again, and I want this to be a gigantic billboard for what you guys do. I think that is just something that you guys do that takes it the extra mile, is you are giving them the power to say, here's my side of the story.
Yes.
I may have a bad situation. I may have been in bad situations.
I may have made mistakes.
Horrible circumstances, but I also have a side too.
By the way,
I just want to go to the beach. I just want to celebrate my birthday. I just want to go out to a nice restaurant.
Yes.
I just want to do all the things that other kids want to do.
The simplest of things that a lot of those kids that day answered for their perfect day. I was like, oh man, I completely it's like a day at the park with my parents or with my family, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, and even then, again, they get to, in a sense, defend themselves, because I think one of the questions, like, what is a misconception that people have about you?
Yeah.
Again, what does that data sheet say, but what do you have to say?
Right.
I think that's a wonderful opportunity for them.
There's a lot of power in that too.
So that's the actual I Belong Project Day.
Yeah.
For our listeners out there, that's what we got to experience with Jordy. That's where we met Aisha.
Yeah.
And the I Belong Project. So that's the context for everything that we're talking about today. Really,
I may actually share some of those videos now that it sounds like it's encouraged, and because I was hesitant because I don't know like the red tape.
Oh yeah.
With regards
DCS
to like DCS and stuff like that. I don't know any of those things, and I certainly
I didn't know
don't
that you guys had on public.
Yes, with the parental rights are terminated for those kiddos, and so we have more ability to to share
Okay.
like that. But
Which makes sense because you're trying to help them get placed. So you would want as many people to see it as possible, I would imagine.
yes, we encourage, like when I work within the churches, we sometimes when I think churches think about foster care, just like a lot of other platforms, is thought about it in such a complicated. It is complicated. It is complex. It is layered. But where we can enter into it, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I meet with businesses and I let them know, like, you sell coffee, invite foster parents in here for a discounted coffee, just to say that I see you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
And I'm showing up
It
for
will
you.
make a difference.
Yeah.
I guarantee. So within the faith community, we're like, share the videos.
Yeah.
Show one video. That's all you got to do.
I want
show
you to come
one
talk
video.
to the church.
Yeah. Like,
Well, we're working on that.
Yeah.
I know.
We're working on that.
I can't wait for that to happen because again, I want you to be able to essentially springboard the platform even more.
yes, if more faith, like here, a church, Heritage Baptist in Johnson City, they heard about a need within the child welfare system, and they figured out how to use their space to accommodate that. And when I was encouraged by that, because I'm like, we don't have to attack the entire issue. Like every church doesn't need. God has given so many skills within the faith community.
Yes.
Everybody doesn't have to do the same thing. They just need to do what they can do well.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
whether that is simply to walk beside places financially, or if that is to just continue to bring awareness because they have large platforms.
Fire the grill up.
Fire the grill up, yes.
Find your bell to ring.
Yes.
Find your bell to ring.
Do you know how many, like, if we could have coffee and food, like, hey,
Yes.
that is where the magic is. Bring the coffee, bring the food, everything else will
I
work
was gonna say,
itself out.
people typically follow the smell of food, but I think again that's just so important because traditionally, and this I believe is an unfair assessment maybe that's put on the foster care system, is the only thing that you hear traditionally from the foster system is, you know, adopt a kid, adopt a kid, adopt a kid. But there are so many other things that you can do even before that. Again, just to make them feel normal again,
Yes.
to give them those opportunities.
Yeah, certainly there's a need, but like you mentioned though, I mean, you think about a church. If everybody was the preacher,
Yeah,
Right.
what? Look at all the other things that wouldn't get done.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, because that's the thing. Like, but it takes everybody.
Yeah.
It takes everybody to make it work. It takes everybody to move it forward and to make it a success.
Yeah.
If you can call it a success, but like it takes everybody doing different things.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like, yeah, you may be very blessed financially. Guess what? There's a need.
yeah.
You
Very
can-
blessed financially, may not have the ability to be a parent though.
Well, so that's
so you
but
have your
you
spot
can
though.
help.
Yeah, you have your spot.
Again, you talked about platforms and,
Yeah.
and raising awareness and constantly being, you know, essentially a megaphone for the system and the issues and the fixes and things like that. There's so many ways that you can help that go beyond, you know, being a parent.
Yeah,
Yes, and
absolutely.
we literally we help people identify that, and then like, okay, let's walk in that space.
Yeah.
With our thing is foster friendly communities, and we break that down with foster friendly faith, foster friendly businesses, and there's literally unlimited things that we do. It's one of the things I really enjoy about this job because it's not the same in every space, and I really enjoy meeting people that just simply have a heart for people, and they're just like, what can I do?
Yeah.
And like, what do you do well?
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah, we can
and
use that.
So many wonderful things, like even with Pastor John, some of the stuff that we talked about, very practical stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Well, he kept saying, he goes, easy. That's easy. You know,
Yeah.
that's easy. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, you know what? It really, oh, you need clothes.
Yep.
Got a closet full of stuff. I don't
Yeah.
need, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's easy to meet those needs, but I think it mostly speaks to an awareness thing. Like
Yeah.
once you know
Yes.
that need exists, it's like, oh, I can help.
Yep.
I can help.
Well, and John's very good too. Just shout out to John Buchanan, our pastor. John's very good too, again, about practical application. And that's where even my thought earlier of like, lay it down at Jesus' feet and pray your way through. Like, yeah, those things are certainly words, but like what action are you putting with those words? What are your practical applications for what you've just said? Yep. He's very big on that.
And I think some people just need to sit down and have conversations because they don't even realize so many times we enter into spaces with our heart without communicating well. And so we don't truly understand the need. And so we may think about foster care and we may think of enter into it with our heart and a whole lot of biases and be doing it all wrong.
Right.
And we think, they need this and this because for some reason this is a whole nother conversation, but we attach foster care with poverty, which is a weird thing because it's just the two are not always in the same
they're not mutually
space.
exclusive.
And so we start thinking about all of these things that we would give to like the homeless community and just like
they are not the same.
It's not the same. And so, but I don't fault anybody for that. It's just like we just need to have these conversations.
Yeah, we need to have those conversations.
There's an education and awareness.
Yeah, and traditionally I don't think those things have been made clear. So it's like now that we can make those clear, people do know how they can help. How they can find their path, whether it be firing up a grill, whether it be providing a space for you guys to do the project, whatever.
You mentioned a simple, I don't know if it's an actual program you guys have or help to create and continue, but it's essentially like, okay, if you have a foster family at your church, give them a Friday night where you either, maybe you cook the meal for them.
Yep.
That's one thing that they don't have to do that week. Or maybe you give them reprieve, that you give them a day to go be people and you watch the kids for a bit. It's just like there are so many ways that you can help. And here's the thing. I bet you're equipped to do it.
Oh, yeah. You're equipped to do something.
Yes.
So that was the RAP.
RAP, that's it.
Yeah.
We walk alongside the faith ministries to encourage them to create RAP ministries. And it's just how it sounds, a team of people within the faith community that are dedicated to a family to essentially wrap around them. And we just talked about the endless possibilities there where it is giving them a day off or coming to mow their lawn, or they have really sick kiddos and they're a single parent, so they need somebody to go pick up the groceries.
Yes.
They just need somebody to vent to, or just need somebody to go to coffee with them that understands the space that they're in. We even talked about if you are a church and you want to encourage people to become foster parents, if you're going to do that, also become a church that's going to support them. So maybe throughout the training, they have a family, they have a night that they got to go to training.
Yeah.
Take some food over there to them, so they don't have to cook. Make it easy for them to get certified.
Absolutely.
And then further walk alongside them. And when we think about the people that are in our faith community that go to church with us, like, isn't that what we're already doing? And we're already trying to show up for them, And so why not show up for them? And how many baby showers do we throw because somebody is having a child? Or how many times do we grieve with people because they have lost someone, And so
I thought of that exact example. Like, you think about all the meals that are made, especially in the South. You mentioned, you have a death in the family. That's one thing in the South you're not going to have to worry about for at least a week is food.
Yeah, you're not going to have to cook
but
for a week.
But then here's the
2 weeks.
thing. After the week, that help, and this is bad, but like the help quits. The help goes away, and then you're back to, and I know you appreciate the help. I've been there. Yeah. Like it's very welcome, but fostering, it's not just a one-time thing. It's a continual. So there's ways to continually support and continually help.
Well, continually support, and I think again, shed positive light. You mentioned like baby showers and things. Something that just popped in my head is I've never seen a shower thrown, at least in my experience, for a family who just adopted a kid.
Yes.
Like how much that would mean to a family.
Yeah.
Like,
I've seen that once, and I was like, that's such a cool
that's very
concept.
like,
this.
You guys are acknowledging the fact that we're going through training. We're incorporating somebody now into our family.
Our life changed overnight.
Yeah, our life changed overnight, essentially. I think shedding light on that again, foster shower would be something that's like pretty cool.
We have a rap team that they in Kingsport, and they have a family that they just started rapping, and she needed another bedroom in her, like she had this room, but it needed to qualify as a bedroom, so it needed a door and something else. And somebody on that rap team was like a contractor, and so they went over there and
busted
built
the wall out, built the door.
And I was like, that
cool.
is so odd. Like he used his skill that he
already
gets paid
does.
for to just like to help her out. And so to him it was nothing, but for her it's probably like, oh my gosh,
probably
like,
meant the world, meant everything.
Like,
yes,
and it did mean a lot. And so like what in the South, like you said, you can guarantee 2 weeks tops and support for anything, and then it fades away. But with those rap ministries, what we're encouraging to find the continual in their structure, we teach the faith community like the bones of a rap ministry. And then encourage them like, okay, here is the bones of it. You take this, and at least 6 months you're giving this family this support, and if you want to go longer you can, but and so it really exposes people like how you guys were exposed to it behind the lens of a camera. It exposes this team of people to foster care in a different way. So.
That's awesome. Actually, I forgot that y'all had I remember it now because you gave us some paperwork in the rap ministry. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you have, I think I saw on your lap earlier, some resources, I believe, maybe some statistics. Would you like to hit us with any of those things, and maybe to our listeners as well?
Yeah, so when they hear about Tennessee Kids Belong, and we talk about like how we recruit. So we recruit families, and then we recruit a community for those families, and then we also work in coalitions. So we do work with Chamber of Commerce's and all these other places that are already impact the community to help them also impact the foster care community. And so, we're nothing without the numbers, right?
Right. I mean, the fact that
you gotta have measurables.
You have to have some measurables.
And it always impresses me because like we're out here doing this, having these conversations, but like there is impact being made. And so like the biggest thing that I was thinking about was that like how many kids that we have done their videos. And so we have done over 700 videos at this point since we've started, and over 400 of those have went on to be adopted.
That's phenomenal.
Yes, it is. It's great.
Yes.
Like those are great outcomes. Our goal last year was to do 150.
That's a 60% kill rate right there. That's awesome.
It's amazing. Like it is absolutely amazing what we have been able to do with these video shoots. But yeah, so last year our goal was to do 150 videos, and we did like 206 videos.
Wow,
and
nice. So you guys are exceeding expectation.
Over half of those kiddos got placed, whether they got adopted or
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's just like it works, and we are in the faith communities.
Yes.
We're bringing more churches to walk alongside us, which is that's my happy place.
Oh yeah.
There's just some amazing people already doing amazing work, and to further extend their work by like you're already in the jails, you're already in the homeless communities, you're already focusing on poverty. Like it's nothing to also like a lot of those social wounds that churches already focus on. You wouldn't believe how they are attached to the foster care. And a lot of those people that end up in fortunate situations, like either they were in foster care themselves and they never got the support, and it's just this continuous cycle. And so it's like, why not understand foster care? And so we are growing in those areas. We have faith cohorts across the state of Tennessee that are constantly growing. Just in the last month alone, we found out that in some parts of Tennessee that churches have reached out to folks just like me and like, hey, we're ready to start a cohort in this county. And so right now for Northeast Tennessee, I just have one, and I meet with churches that are, it's nice to work in this space with other people that also have the passion. So they just encourage each other. And so, so that is growing. We have our foster friendly businesses, and so we have an app called the Foster Friendly app where we connect foster families to the churches, to the businesses,
to resources.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Nice,
y'all. My goal this year was to get like 10 businesses on that app. It is February, and it has exceeded.
Oh, you've already.
Like,
what's the number?
Listen,
it's like, I can't. Oh my gosh.
You need to set higher goals.
I know. It's like,
Hey,
I didn't realize how many people.
I ain't calling you out, but I believe Jesus said, "Oh, you have little faith." You know,
Call me out.
No, it's funny because
Open thy mouth wide, and I will fill it. He says.
When we go at church, when we go to do like our Easter cantatas or our Christmas cantatas, we always buy the books so that the singers can follow along. And there's always this dilemma of like, okay, we'll usually have about this many in the choir, and it's like, how many books should we buy and whatnot? And it was funny because James, he's our pastor's brother. He's the choir
brother
leader.
of John.
He said, listen, I bought 50 books.
And we're gonna fill them.
And we're gonna fill it. And he had to buy books. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, you just,
don't box the Lord in.
No.
Yes.
Don't box the Lord in.
There's a lot of people here that have been fortunate to be business owners that they seriously have a heart for foster care and adoption, whether they've adopted themselves or their family was foster parents. And like, it's been amazing to enter into some of these places. Like, we just got Vision, oh my gosh, not Vision, Virtual Quest. They do the virtual reality in the mall.
Vision
Oh,
Quest.
That's what it is.
Vision Quest.
I don't know.
Something like that. I know which one you're talking about. It's the one that it's at the end across from the optometrist. So that's where I go to the eye doctor in the mall.
Yeah, and so they have
Vision
that.
Quest.
They have that space.
That place is massive, by the way.
It's a lot of lights.
It's a lot of lights. It is massive.
A lot of lights.
Nice.
We had our daughter in there for her birthday last month. Her birthday, well, beginning of this month. She did a little princess birthday party at the little princess place there, right across from the VR place. I'm like, sis, why don't we go to the VR place? She wanted her princess birthday. That's cool. So they're on the roster then.
Yes, they were excited. And the thing that I've learned is that, like,
that's like total opposite of the business that you would think would be on the roster, which again is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, but people like that, like they were almost honored to be brought into the space. It's like, yes, we want to be
rad.
a part. And sometimes I don't think people realize like how the business that they have could be beneficial to.
Well, again, a virtual reality.
Well, but it's the awareness thing, though.
Yeah. An arcade, basically.
Some foster parents was like, we want to have discounts to do birthday parties. And they mentioned that place, and I was like, okay. So,
we'll give it a whirl.
Yeah.
And you make it happen.
Yes. And so we just recently had a lot of photographers come on, and so yeah, like this, we operate in the business world too, and it's been great. Yes, it's great to get those discounts for the foster families, and get them on the app. But it was even greater for me because I'm such a human and a people person. Is to like get the why behind some of those people that are saying yes, like yes, we'll support families. Right? Like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
I want to know the why, though.
Yeah. That's rad.
Absolutely. Now, you told us the other day, how many was it in the state of Tennessee that are currently in the system?
We're just under 9,000, which we were teeter-tottering on that line for a little while, and we got over 9,000, but now we're just under 9,000. Yeah. And so yeah. And
still a need to be met.
Yes, in Northeast Tennessee, Sullivan County has the highest need right now than Washington County, and so really just trying to focus on those areas and just bringing. My hope is that the more community support that we have, people are more. Especially when you think about people that move to this area and they don't have a lot of family, and they're like, "I want to be foster parents, but I don't have a lot of support." And So I really want to create so much support within the community that more people feel
encouraged to do it.
Encouraged to become foster parents.
Well, they know they've got the backing.
Yes.
You
That's huge. That is huge.
Yep.
We talk about this at the end of that meeting at Stillwater's the other day, And, John was like, we've probably got tons of people in our community, in our area, who, perhaps they are relatively young empty nesters at this point. They've still got a lot of parenting left. They've got some parenting left in them that they can do. It's like, a lot of times with I've heard of it. I'm not there yet, obviously, but like a lot of times when you have kids, when they leave the couple, they're left.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of times they've wrapped their identity in the kids, and so it's like they have a void.
Yeah.
There,
have a little bit of a what to do.
Yeah, it's
at
like
that point in time.
Our life
What
for
do we do now?
25 years is, now different because we're empty nesters.
I see that with our kids' grandparents. I mean, our grandparents, the kids' grandparents, like they love having them over, and I'm like, you guys don't love your peace and quiet? And they're like, no, we like the peace and quiet, but sometimes it's too quiet.
Yeah,
like because they had. With my mom and dad, they had 3 boys.
Yeah.
Sarah's parents had her and her brother, so it's like they miss the noise sometimes. I'm like, how can you miss the noise? But like they do.
Well, but that's a perfect example of like you could give a family reprieve for a day.
Yes.
Because that's I think that's the allure of being a grandparent is like you can
get
send them home,
Right.
You want them, but you can get them back the next day
and send them back home.
Yep.
Right.
Like but like you can still do that
Yeah.
and you're helping. And so I think if there's anything that a listener should be encouraged from this episode is that there's a way you can help.
Yeah.
And so speaking on that, I don't want your phone or your email inbox to blow up if that's not the preferred communication method. But in the event that a listener is like, oh, dude, I've got this business, we definitely can help.
No.
Or whatever.
If anything
What,
resonated.
what channel should we point them to in regards to becoming a help?
You can blow my email up.
Okay.
So wants the email, so we can put the email in the description there.
So reach out to
Link
Aisha.
in the description below.
Reach out to Aisha. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Aisha, Tennessee kids belong.
I don't know what
That's
her.
great.
We'll put her.
We'll put the handle down in there. Are there any other resources that you can turn our audience on to? Maybe if anything resonated.
Maybe a church has heard this and they're like, oh, I want to. We can help.
Yeah.
How do we get involved?
It just depends on like how people want to get involved. Like I think the best thing to do is just to reach out and let's just have a conversation.
Yeah.
And
you guys have a website as well, correct?
Yes. Check out our website. There's so much information on there for the foster friendly communities, for the business and the faith side. There's a ton of resources to just figure out what it is, and then
where you can fit.
Where you can fit. And if the website doesn't answer the question, like
I bet you
we can
will.
just talk. Yeah, we could just talk, and like whether it's to go on to do something with me or to give their time or resources or whatever it is to become a foster friendly business.
Right.
It's literally endless. This
Oh,
space
yes.
is endless. And
That's
so-
what I've learned
Well,
today.
the need is endless too.
Bingo.
The need is endless. Aisha, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on today. This has been, again, I get excited talking about your guys' mission because that one singular day that we had with you guys, it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yep.
So I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I look forward to continuing to finding our place in that.
Thank you, guys.
Finding our bell to ring.
Finding our bell to ring.
We need to start having a bell at the end. Like,
Speaking of ringing bells,
Yeah.
if this episode has rung any bells in our listeners' ears, we would love to hear about that. What are some things that our listeners can do to help the episode, help the channel here?
Yeah. Give us any sort of feedback. Rate us. Leave us a review.
Stars and bars.
We read every one of them.
Good and bad.
Good and bad. And we appreciate all of them. Other than that, again, if my goal and my prayer for this episode is that at least one person, one entity, one business, one whatever has now been eye-opened and they're like, oh, I can help.
Yeah.
And they reach out. So reach out to Aisha. We'll put her contact information below as well as the TKB. You can watch some of the videos there if you want to. I will caution you, you better have a box of tissues.
Get the Kleenexes out.
Get the Kleenexes. Man, tough stories.
Here's the hard part.
Yeah. Oh, we'll see you guys in the next one.
He didn't make that very hard again. All right. Y'all have a good one.
We'll see y'all later. Thanks again. Bye.